I'm wondering when we're going to get a chapter of Chainsaw Man where we can actually predict what's going to happen, because it's not only such a weird shonen in the fact that instead of I don't want to pick out any. Well, I can't really say like any specific shonen. It's a lot of shonens. You always have these characters who have some power that in reality, even in a fantasy or whatever fictional state, you'd think that with their power, a character who can cut skyscrapers in half, when taking someone down, isn't just going to make like a 1 inch gash across their chest. In Chainsaw Man, it's very vicious and gory, and you just get that like straight up real ferocity. But not only that, when you see these characters, and we know how the Chainsaw Devil was like going into this, we know how Denji was and how weird he was, and it's like not only is he interesting as a creature that Makima has some suspicions of, and she has an idea what she's going to do with him. We don't really know yet, but he fit in the fact that there's not everything in Denji's head that seems to be functional. It seems like he's obviously a little bit messed up from his life. He's a little bit awkward and crazy. And that's what we know about the devil hunters that actually end up staying in long enough and being able to maintain themselves, because they don't go crazy because they're already kind of crazy. But you get that kind of very strange attitudes from all these characters, and it's not like I'm a quirky fun weirdo. It's like you'll have a quirky fun weirdo like power, but you also have like someone like Kobeni who at the drop of the hat is like, okay, let's kill Denji. I've got my knife ready. Let's stab him. And Arai who just like loses his mind and starts panicking and doesn't know what side he's taking. And I always thought that was really interesting about Chainsaw Man. Obviously, I like a lot of shonens and a lot of different manga in general, but it's such a weird take with Chainsaw Man, and you just get that genuine feel to it. But anyway, the chapter itself, we left off in chapter 20, right before Golden Week, and Denji was in this kind of like old-style sitcom situation. He's got Makima, who he's got a thing for, show up, and he doesn't want to kiss Himeno in front of her, and Himeno, who, promised him a French kiss for taking down that devil back, turned out to be the Eternity Devil, not the Gun Devil, but still she's going through with it. And we know that she's obviously very affectionate when she gets drunk after, talking for the last chapter. And Denji just doesn't know what to do. He's like, I want that French kiss, but at the same time, I can't do it in front of Makima. I don't want her to judge me and think that there's no hope between us. Because in his mind, I think he definitely sees something between the two of them. And Makima, I just think she's puppeteering him along. She's completely playing him. She seems very smart and knows exactly just, how to control him, And it doesn't seem with just him, because like Aki only wanted to go drinking. He wanted to go on a day that Makima could go, because he's clearly very suspicious of what she knows, because we know that from his talk about the Eternity Devil having some form of grudge against Denji, but he doesn't say Denji, he says the chainsaw, and I believe he's talking about Pochita, the dog that Denji had, the chainsaw dog devil that merged with him and obviously gave him his powers. And I don't think they figured that out yet. I think obviously a lot of them don't know much about Denji, so the first thing they're going to go for is Denji. They don't know how he got his powers. I don't think he's explained it to anyone yet. So it's completely believable that they're suspicious of him and not considering where it is that suspicion would lie otherwise than directly in Denji. And he'll probably explain it at some point. But now we have all the characters drinking. Aki wants to get Makima drunk so he can find out the information that she has. But she just knows. You can tell she knows that he's trying to play her. But she's just like, okay, I'll tell you when I get drunk enough. Let's see how that goes. And you can tell Aki's just like, oh shit. Because I'm guessing he's drank with her before, and everyone else, when getting ready to go on this, go towards these big beer mugs, each of them have like 4 or 5 full mugs, and Makima's just like, I don't even feel it. She's clearly some form of stud. Like, this bitch, she's taken down all this, and she doesn't even look buzzed. Like, no form of effect on her. She just an absolute tank. And everyone else is just very much starting to fall apart. Other than the people that didn't drink. Meanwhile, I really like this. There's a part with Power, and it was very short lived. It was only one page, but I thought it was like a page and a half. I thought it was very telling of her character. I don't remember this other chick's name, the chick with the short hair that's in the other group that's part of their branch. I don't remember what their branch is called, but she's like talking to Power, and she's talking about how she's impressed that she's able to hold back her devil instincts. During everything, they're obviously very aggressive. They like to kill and everything. And she's just like talking about how it's because her IQ is high. I'm wondering if that's actually the case, that she's able to withstand it because if she's smart, or she's just, being Power and trying to brag. But in this part, you see that when the chick asks for her IQ, Power doesn't know what to say. She probably didn't expect it to happen. She just seems like one of those people that she'll just say stuff, but when you actually try and like dig into what she said, she's got nothing prepared, and she just to answer her IQ, she just says 100. She doesn't know if that's good or bad, and the other chick's like, I think that I was somewhere around 100 actually, and you can tell when Power, I almost said Makima, when Power answers that, she's like, oh, then I guess I was actually around 120. And this other dude, Fushi, or whatever you pronounce his name, is like, oh, I'm about 134. And Power just starts being like, oh, my IQ is actually, I think, somewhere between 500 and 1,000. And the look on her face in the panel when she says that her IQ is actually around 120, you can tell she's insecure. There's a very fragile layer behind Power we've seen a little bit of, which again it's opened up a very nice thing that we'll probably see of Power along the way. She's obviously very confident in herself, but you can tell that it's not all just like a concrete personality and like confidence behind her. There's definitely some fragile bits in there. And when she was questioned about her intelligence like that, you can tell that was that's one of the things that's probably a sensitive topic for her. Power she's very different than a lot of female shonen protagonists, and I don't think anyone can really argue that. And there's already an extra layer to her that we'll probably explore, I'd say within the next arc or two, start to really kind of open up on Power. Meanwhile, you have Himeno just walk right up to Denji and just start French kissing him, and nobody seems to really care except for Makima's just like, oh, whatever. No one pays attention, rather, and she looks, but she doesn't seem to really care, or at least she doesn't show caring. And then poor Denji, this was even worse because I realized at the end that this was Denji's first kiss, and he's like, oh man, this is great. What is this feeling? Is that her tongue? Oh, wait, it's not her tongue. And you actually see that she's throwing up in his mouth. It's so disgusting, but so awkward. And you could see something like this happening as this dude, he grew up with like doing nothing but working, and he's like learning social skills now, and he's with these not completely sane group of people, and one of them is just getting hammered drunk, and you could see something like this happening, and I feel so bad for Denji. And it got worse from there because of with the fact, his whole backstory, and he was dirt poor and he pretty much scavenged all the time for food. And I actually like that Power knew this, that while they're all kind of like, people are like either disgusted or laughing, and Power's just like, he has this like habit of swallowing anything that he thinks will have nutritional value just as an instinct, and that played in with also a sad flashback around that, where at the same time it's like, this was a disgusting but hilarious, but at the same time sad when you factor in his backstory and why this is seen. It's just like, there's so many emotions riding on such a weird part of this chapter, and such a weird part of the series. And again, I never know what's coming with Chainsaw Man. That's what I really love about it. At the same time of this, like, reading this complete and total, like, I don't even know how to describe it other than it's really just like, I honestly, I feel like this whole scene, I think the way that I best describe it is if the people from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia were put into a manga world and they became these characters. Because something like that just feels like something from an episode, and then played in further in a really sad backstory. And then it even further went into the sad backstory when you find out like Denji's like thrown up in a toilet, he's in the bathroom, and you have Arai, who this is really like the first real part of it we find out, and he's like helping Denji, and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I have a lot of experience helping people who are throwing up, and he's like, yeah, my mom was super drunk when she'd come home from work all the time, so, I've got a lot of experience, taking care of her, so I can take care of you. There's so many like parts to this chapter, like so many small subtle parts to pick apart and to really look at. Like that was again, like we get a lot of like when we get action chapters, we get crazy action, and when we're getting like character interaction and more like human parts of it, we're getting a lot. And that's why Chainsaw Man is such a fascinating series in so many ways. And it's just like even when Denji kind of like makes some comedic joke of it, he's like, what do you have to be jealous about what my ability to kill devils? It's nothing. Like I just had my first kiss where a chick threw up all in my mouth. What I don't know what you have to be jealous of. And then when everyone's starting to part ways, you get to that like final moments of the night, and it's like, all right, time to wrap it up. Let's see where the night takes us in those final moments. And then Denji, who carried Himeno home. It doesn't end there, because now the dude, I don't know how to really talk about this, because again, this is something that you've seen in a lot of other shonens. Again, you've seen a lot of other shonens, something like this, and I'll explain what I mean in a second, because Denji now he carried Himeno home, and Himeno is still awake but very drunk, and she just has a tank top on and her panties, and she just climbs on top of Denji. And it's not only that it leads to the fact that what we're at least hinted at the end of the chapter is she wants to have sex with him, but again, more character, like there's more character fleshed out aspects. Like she doesn't like Makima, and you can tell it's not just like, oh, I don't like her because she's a superior. You can tell like while she's talking about her, how she's going for very base root causes of like female like insults and like wanting to demean her, calling her a cow, telling her she's a stupid bitch. But after that, where it's not just insulting her and she mentions Aki, you can tell, because we know that she's got a thing for Aki, but Aki has his eyes on Makima, but we don't know if it's affectionate wise or he's impressed, because I think we can all tell this like Makima's probably very powerful, and you can there's so many layers that like the fact that that Himeno is both jealous of the way that he looks at her, but at the same time now she's got the person that she sees Makima has some form of eye on with Denji, and I feel like she wants to start trying to get his attention to kind of steal away Denji from Makima, kind of do what she thinks that Makima is doing kind of to her, even if it's not really that way. She just kind of like sees it that way of Aki, because obviously, in her mind, her definitely not sane mind, she views it kind of that way of Makima trying to, or at least maybe indirectly stealing away Aki from her, and now she's doing that to Denji. And again, what I was talking about, that I don't know how this is going to go, because in a lot of shonens, even if you go back to like the whole power thing, when power like offered, Denji, if you help me find my cat, I'll let you feel my boobs. And a lot of this stuff like this happens in a lot of other shonen, like, a lot of other lewd shonens, but it almost always ends with the main character not going through with it for some reason. And yet he did. And again, Chainsaw Man is so weird, and when you get something like this in another like shonen, and it's a lewd scene, even though it's like an impossible situation not for the dude to score, in Chainsaw Man, it's different, because in normal shonen, or in lewd shonen, harem shonen, in a realistic sense, the main character having all these super hungry chicks is gonna get with at least a few of them, no doubt. There's no way in a real life, like some like 16-year-old dude who's got like chicks climbing into his bed every other day naked is just gonna be like, I don't want that at all. And or some other situation that always happens that breaks it up. we don't know if literally the next chapter Chainsaw Man could go all the way through those tropes, and then the last second Denji could turn around and go through with it. And it would surprise me the fact that it happens, but it wouldn't surprise me the fact that it's Chainsaw Man. This is something that I feel like we just need to expect. And again, it's so crazy, the fact that I'm at 15 minutes of this review, and I didn't intend for this to be that long, because like there was so many small aspects of this chapter, but at the same time, just the idea of, you know, in a normal shonen, you would think, oh, this isn't going to go anywhere, it's going to be some fake out. But we don't know that for Chainsaw Man, because it's so unpredictable. Like, it's so weirdly unpredictable. And not only is Chainsaw Man fun, like, you know, you got a lot of cool characters, monster designs, like sick action, but stuff like this where you don't know where it's gonna go, because the author is so strange. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if then it's like, what is your plan for the next arc? Denji is going to lose his virginity and maybe fight some of their devils and maybe unlock a new power. And they're gonna be like, what was the last part? Or for the first part? And he's gonna be like, yes, that's the most important part. I got a plan, don't worry about it. Again, I don't know. I'm at 60 minutes. I gotta round this off. So tell me in the comment section what you think about this. Anybody who's made it to the end of this video. Again, I don't know how many of you are gonna watch a 16-minute video on Chainsaw Man. You know, it's still pretty new, but I feel like there's so much to talk about in some of these chapters. Because like the action chapters, they just talk about how awesome some of the scenes are, but in the character chapters, there's just so many weird aspects to it. I really just want to like look at and go over and talk to everyone else about it. But other than that, tell me in the comment section what you think about this and how you thought about this chapter. What you think? Can you predict what's going to happen next? It's so, again, it's such a constant wild card with Chainsaw Man. But other than that, I really appreciate if you would thumbs up the video, but from the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.